1923. Having a drink at the bottom pub was the little town's GP. Some ringers were tailing bullocks along the riverbank, and each took his turn when thirsty and went to the pub and drank. A ringer rode up to the pub. A raging thirst was his. Tied up his horse, lifted its tail, and under it planted a kiss. Well, the doc had seen some strange things in this land of sweat and sin, but what he saw that ringer do, well, it fairly got him in. For this was a thing that intrigued the doc, who was ever alert for fresh tips. "Excuse me," he said, "why did you do that?" The ringer replied, "Sore lips." "Does that heal them?" the doctor asked, his professional interest quickening. The ringer grinned at him. "Nah," Doc, he drawled, "that's only to stop me from licking them." I know it takes a bit of understanding from you city folk, I know that. This is the one called The Line Dancer, and I'll try and remember it. It was written by an old mate of mine who's passed away, a bloke called Bobby Miller from Maryborough in Queensland. And it's about that wonderful profession that emerged a few years ago called line dancing. There's a plague upon our nation, and it's driving me off me block. And it's doing to country music what disco did to rock. And all our soulful ballad singers have blown their final chances. Now they pay a ransom to those mongrel line dancers. At every bloody dogfight, from the Alice to the sea, you'll find them in their hundreds, lining up with glee, trying to fit into blue jeans, what should remain well hid, with each age represented from the granny to the kid. They issue invitations, "Come and join us for a while." But have you ever noticed the buggers never smile? I must be missing something. I just cannot see the fun of dancing with 10 pretty girls and never touching one. You can never hear their music for the stomping of their feet, which might be quite a blessing because they've only got one beat. They've all got big belt buckles shining bright enough to blind, with their gaze fixed rather rigidly on the one in front's behind. But for passionate dedication, they're pretty hard to toss. They've been that long since I've done them. Try and take the dance floor and they'll show you who's the boss. They'll trample over babies, bikie gangs and rugby scrums. If you criticise their music, they just label you as bums. But I've hatched this master plan to rid us of this blight, and I've bribed the band to greatly lift the tempo for the night. I see line dancers failing, slipping slowly to their knees. Now we can dance the old-fashioned way and give our girls a squeeze. My ego says I can do it without reading the paper, but that's not true, you know. This is a man who died probably 140 odd years ago, a bloke called Banjo Patterson, and it's called Mulga Bill's Bicycle. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eagle Hawk that sought the cycling craze. He gave away the good old horse that served him better days. He dressed himself in cycling clothes, resplendent to be seen, and hurried off to town and bought a shiny new machine. And as he wheeled it through the door with an air of lordly pride, the grinning shop assistant said, "Excuse me, sir, can you ride?" "See here, young man," said Mulga Bill, "from Walgett to the sea, from Conroy's Gap to Castlereagh, there's none can ride like me. I'm good all round at everything, as everybody knows. Although I'm not the one to talk, I ain't a man that blows. For riding is my special gift, my chiefest sole delight. Just ask a wild duck, can it swim? A wildcat, can it fight? There's nothing clothed in hair or hide or built of flesh or steel. There's nothing runs or jumps or whatever's on axle, hoof or wheel. But while I'll sit, while hide will hold, and girths and straps are tight, I'll ride this here two-wheel concern right straight away at sight." 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eagle Hawk who sought his own abode that perched beside the Dead Man's Creek beside the mountain road. He turned the cycle down the hill and mounted for the fray, but here he'd gone a dozen yards and it bolted clean away. It left the track and through the trees just like a silver streak. It whistled down that awful slope towards the Dead Man's Creek. It shaved the stump by half an inch. It dodged a big white box. The very wallaroos in fright went scrambling up the rocks. The wombats in their caves dug deeper underground, while Mulga Bill was white as chalk, sat tight to every bound. It struck a stone and gave a spring that cleared a fallen tree. It raced beside a precipice as close could be. And then as Mulga Bill let out one last despairing shriek, it made a leap of 20 feet into the Dead Man's Creek. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eagle Hawk that slowly swam ashore. He said, I've had some narrow shaves and lively rides before. I've rode a bull around a ring to win a £5 bet, and that was sure the darndest ride that I've encountered yet. I'll give that two-wheel outlaw's best. It's shaken all me nerve to feel it whistle through the trees and buck and jump and swerve. It's safe at rest in Dead Man's Creek. I'll leave it lying still. A horse's back is good enough, henceforth, for Mulga Bill. Thanks, folks.